Is Baku TV with us?
Вопрос снова коснется Германии.
The question will again concern Germany and the happily concluded COP29 conference in Baku. As we know, the conference ended with a major, as they say, Baku breakthrough. It was decided to provide financial support to developing countries, in particular small island states and African countries, whose ecology has suffered due to the neo-colonial policy of the West. This initiative caused a mixed reaction from German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, who made a number of provocative statements on the margins of COP29, and here she proposed to shift the financial responsibility for EU climate finance to other negotiators. That is, in the case of this financing, the German account. I would like to hear your comment.
Финансированием немецкий счет. Вот хотелось бы услышать ваш
Я
комментарий.
считаю, что нашим азербайджанским коллегам повезло.
Well, I think that our Azerbaijani colleagues are lucky that she did not make a statement about the need to turn around 360 degrees on this issue. That would have been a number. Everyone would have been thinking how to do it. That is why she, so to speak, apparently restrained herself in another stupidity. Let's start with the main thing. Indeed, at the 29th session of the Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which took place in Baku from November 11th to 24th, the developed countries tried their best to avoid any responsibility to developing countries to channel climate finance to them. That is the neo-colonialism that we are talking about, that we do not agree with, and that we will fight against. One of the West's methods has been to try to widen the circle of donors to include the large countries of the global South. This shifting of responsibility would in many ways relieve former colonial powers of their obligations to the most climate-vulnerable nations at the expense of countries that have themselves suffered from colonialism in the past. In addition, despite the conference's focus on financial issues, Western states, including the Federal Republic of Germany, have sought to trade any agreements for another increase in the recipient's ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, in violation of the 23-year agreement in Dubai. Well, actually, from here comes the evaluation of the Baerbock statements. It is very revealing about the justifiable demands of developing countries that are both short of funds to deal with devastating natural disasters and Western pressure in the form of ultimatums to decarbonize by any means necessary. You know, I want to draw attention again to another very important element. You understand, this, you could say, fake game of the Westerners, among other things, is that on the one hand they declare about decarbonization, about the climate agenda, about the green transition, and on the other hand they talk at the same pace about the need for digitalization, the introduction of new technologies everywhere, give themselves development ratings again, and deny it to others. But for some reason, they are silent about the fact that these two processes are largely incompatible, because digitalization requires such resources, energy resources in the first place, which are incompatible with the same decarbonization, the green transition, and which pose such a threat to the environmental agenda that it is still unpredictable. This is also a separate topic, and the most surprising thing is that everyone manages to combine these two, once again, sometimes diametrically opposed trends as stated goals in the same documents. This is also a game that Westerners need in order to maintain their, as they believe, leading positions, but in fact it is not leading positions, but pseudo-domination. They need to gain a foothold everywhere in order not to allow the countries, which historically have been set back in their technological development because of their own Western behavior, to somehow come closer to them, to reduce this technological gap, To reduce the financial and economic lag, the lag in the educational sphere, I remind you, not created by them, not because of, so to speak, racial superiority of the so-called white man over others, as the Westerners explained, but because they were used as slaves, as free slaves. So all these approaches are false by the Westerners, but they are false with one goal: to gain a foothold on the new frontiers of neo-colonialism, to try to constantly remove the world majority from the sources of economic, educational, scientific growth, and thus on this false agenda to claim supposedly their own dominance, getting more and more bonuses. It won't work for them. I'm just telling you what they are motivated and driven by.
Это не получится у них. Я просто рассказываю о том, чем они мотивируются и чем они руководствуются.